Alright, back again to continue and pick up where we left off with the last Ace Attorney trial, which has honestly taken the long route getting to something that I thought they would have gotten to a lot sooner, but... So, currently, we're in the middle of Case 4, actually doing the trial portion, and we have just hashed out that the crime has taken place on the opposite side of the street that it is said to have taken place, and all of that was only there to put in basically that the burned book on the ground was definitely something that was thrown out of the window of the tenants that the the landlords of the defendant, they threw it out of the house while having a little marital spat, and that's where one of the books came from. So we're still trying to, there's still so much that has been explored that we're trying to hit. Like, the idea that our guy, that the person we were defending, went a different route home, and he was only just passing by, and the person he saw collapse was actually juror number 6, is something we haven't touched back on yet. So that's still hanging up in the air. We've just proven that the one witness that saw the defendant run by the murdered person moved the crime scene to the opposite side of the street, and that was only just to say that the burned book was over there. My hunch is that the woman who was murdered bent over to pick it up and was stabbed in the back. I think what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be connecting the knife to the landlords, but I don't think it's going to be theirs. Like, I think this is going to be another case in which there's a bigger picture, but we're not going to get to the bigger picture. I think the case is probably going to end much earlier, because that's what it kind of feels like. The way it feels to me is that the woman who was stabbed, it wasn't an accident. Someone was trying to stab her, or trying to stab somebody probably, and mix her up with juror number 6. That's my assumption. But I don't know. And will this fucking thing start up already? It did the same thing yesterday where it took forever for it to actually load up the game and not, like, fuck around. I don't know what's going on. But hopefully, there it goes. Like, I don't know why. Every once in a while, some games do this where it takes like 2 minutes for the whole thing just to pop up and actually start loading in the game again. Still don't know what's causing it to happen though. Alright, so we're finally calling up Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb, the landlords, to the stand so we can find out more about what the hell has been going on. And I'm kind of afraid that it's going to end up getting pinned on Miss Garadeb. And like I said, I think there's a bigger picture, but considering how long the trial's gone on so far, and we didn't hit Chapter 3, now, to be fair, we could interview Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb, and then it could suddenly give us more information, and we hit Chapter 3 and we continue, or Part 3 of the trial and continue. I have a very sinking suspicion that there isn't going to be a Part 3 of the trial, and it's going to get resolved now. And that just means that a lot more of this story is going to be saved to the second half of the game, which does kind of suck, but it is neat. But it does kind of suck that each trial we're doing now is forced, like, the truth is forced to not to come out. And it's kind of because the game wants there to be a second half, so it keeps dancing around a lot of the connections that I've already made, or that it looks like it's trying to make, and then it just kind of dead ends it and no one brings it up again. And it's getting kind of annoying. Like the fact in the other trial that we did, it was almost perfectly clear that some evidence was tampered with, but nobody showed up and proved it. Nobody wanted to go on about it again, and that same person was killed afterwards. So now there is no more questions. Now, simply him dying, Mr. McGilded dying, did that end all questions, or was there nothing else? Like, we're counting it as we won, but all we got was basically a mistrial. And they don't seem to use that as a term. That's just like, no, you won. Technically, the defendant wasn't found guilty. Like, there's so many, like, little nitpicky things. Well, I guess not nitpicky things, but there's so many, like, what the hell is this judicial system? Anyway, let's continue off with this. Continuing Episode 4, Chapter 2. The Battle of Garradeb.
Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick. Oh,
Okay, he's still lying about that, huh?
knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though. Got the window open.
Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could to find to throw at him. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to say she threw the knife at him, or because I don't think my original theory was the woman who was stabbed was a portly woman. So is Mrs. Garradeb, and she thought her husband was cheating on her. So I think she thought that might have been the woman whose name and kiss mark was on the bookmark in the book that Mr. Garradeb had. But I think that's just a connection to a different case. I don't think Mrs. Garradeb ran down the stairs or dropped the knife into the lady's back. I think I think it might have been something she threw out the window, but the knife was closed, and maybe somebody else just saw it and picked it up and stabbed them, because I think they wanted to go after juror number 6. But we'll see how the game goes. So you kind of got to let the game kind of go at its own pace and reveal what it wants to reveal.
Plenty of knives around our place, hence I noticed if 1 or 2 went missing, in fact. If that bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'd have a job proving it, I think.
Ah, it sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems.
The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield, you're just a gnat's whisker away from death at any moment.
Are we still talking about marital quarrel? Here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that the testimony was shedding the light on the origins of the jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Van Zeeks may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, we only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination.
The Battle of Garradeb.
Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish.
I can't recall the reason.
Hold it!
The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe. Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Garradeb. A rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Garradeb found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sort of state of affairs.
Ill on earth.
I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was wide of the mark, anyway.
A likely story. These waters are very deep.
And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face? Knocked a candlestick over and set a fire to the carpet. Soon had it out, though. Got the window open. Hold it!
And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it?
A bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine, really. Just so happens there was some bathwater around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out.
A most precarious situation to put yourself in.
Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. Have to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see.
The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend from his studies, you know, from his own country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea in all hours
He's obviously very well off.
Have you actually seen the state of the man?
I believe he uses all of his income to buy books.
Well, anyway, the point is I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough.
Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could to throw at him.
Hold it!
Even though the room was on fire?
As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw.
That's most certain. Not true, the Sasato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. The Sasato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did you know I was thinking of that? So, please, cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day?
In all honesty, I don't recall, but I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me say, some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge, a napkin.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Garadeb.
Don't shoot. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Did your wife's remark just bring something to you to mind?
Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker I seem to recall.
Ouch.
And the woman's aim is uncanny. She'll land a direct hit with every belly. Ah! Good grief, woman! You're not at home now. This is a court of law.
Oh, dearie me. Ever so sorry, dear.
What's she even doing with a teapot in here?
Honestly, John, I would never have done such things at you, obviously.
Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened, huh?
Your pipe, sir.
Had this thing in my hand, she, as usual at the time of the onslaught, knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did. Yes. And when I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage.
I see. Your pipe was broken.
I would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now.
Oh, you are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear?
Huh. I wonder what we should make of this account. The defense believes Mr. Garadeb's remarks just now to be of great significance. This word veteran's words only tell us one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes as well as hearts may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the former testimony.
Indeed. Common sense, one might say.
Might one?
In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I don't see why not.
Oh, dearie me, there you go again, trying to integrate yourself with your young lady.
Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence.
The pipe has been entered into the court record.
I hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo.
There's a small nick out of the bowl here. Look, it appears to have been made relatively recently.
And how are there little scrapes and dents all over it? It's clearly a well-loved pipe.
Yes, you're right. It seems to me recently that being well loved goes hand in hand with getting some battle scars. This particular nick is catching my eye though. It's because it's clearly new, and it looks like the knife could have hit it. It looks to be in a sorry state with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason, it feels slightly ominous to me. Like it's trying to shout out a warning. Probably because it's the same blue as Mr. Garadeb's dressing gown.
I suppose it must have considerable sentimental value to Mr. Garadeb, given that he's gone out of his trouble repairing it like this.
Either that, or we can't afford to replace it. Oh. Oh, come on, really? Alright, this is dumb. This is dumb. How is the blade point still in the thing? How is the tip of the blade still in his pipe? He's even stirred his own goddamn tea with it. Whatever. Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there.
Yes, I saw it. Something stuck in there, I think.
Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this?
It's a tiny fragment of metal.
It looks like the tip of a blade or something. The tip of a blade? Surely it couldn't be. Fragment of metal. A small piece of metal looks like it might be the tip of a knife blade. It was stuck inside Mr. Gyarados' pipe. Yeah, alright. They're gonna... yeah, this is definitely half the story, and they're gonna just blame it on Mrs. Gyarados. Yeah, this is definitely setting up for the second half of everything else. This is a tiny piece of metal we found in the chamber of Mr. Gyarados' pipe.
It looks like the tip of a blade or something.
The tip of a blade?
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
I don't really know. There's just something niggling me, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Perhaps in that case, it would be wise to examine some of the other pieces of evidence again.
Oh, it looks like a tip of a knife. Wow, damn. I don't know. Maybe I should look at the bouquet again. Or maybe this. Or maybe this. Or maybe this. Or maybe this. Definitely not this. How about this one? Maybe this one? I wonder... What is the tip of a knife missing? What? What could... Actually, I don't... Could that even be the tip of this? I don't think it is. I guess they're gonna say it is, though, but...
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just the tip.
A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. Wait, part is missing? It could be wrong, but I just get a feeling. You remember this?
Ah, that's the tiny fragment of metal that we found inside Mr. Gyarados' pipe.
Yes, and just maybe.
Oh my, it's a perfect fit.
Somehow, I just knew it. Okay, well. Alright, time to go frame his wife.
I sure hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down.
Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Sasato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully.
Well, thank you for that. Rebuttal, Mr. Gyarados. Now, we're going to return to the crux of the matter. What can we tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim? Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if one or two went missing, I'm afraid.
Hold it!
Sorry? Would you care to elaborate?
Nothing to say, really. Rather partial to a spot of carving, you see? Pipes and whatnot. Fishing tackle, you know, that sort of thing.
It's a passion we both share. I like to carve wooden trinkets too. And then there's my leatherwork.
Sorry to say, we're already losing knives about the place. We have dozens of the thing.
They sell them at the market sometimes. 20 for the price of 19. Needless to say, I snap them up. John prefers to use 2 knives at meal times too, instead of a knife and fork.
Now, Joan, we don't want people thinking I'm sort of savage. Ah!
Here we go again with the scaldings. Why are they being so evasive?
I imagine it's because they don't want to believe it. They can't bear the thought that it might have been one of their knives that injured the victim.
Which is entirely understandable, of course, but still. Go on with your testimony, witness.
Sir! If that batty thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, we'll have a job proving it, I think.
Hold it!
So you have no intention of admitting it was your knife, unless we can produce proof. Even though there is no other credible possibility of Mr. Natsume is innocent.
Objection!
You'll forget, my Japanese friend, that it is yet to be established that the accused is not responsible for the attack. As if I could forget. If only there was some way to know who had handled that knife. But I suppose wizardry like that is just a dream.
Perhaps you're thinking of fingerprinting, Mr. Naruhodo.
What? You mean it's not a dream? That sort of wizardry really exists?
Whenever people touch anything, they leave behind a unique pattern on from their skin. Or so they say. But I can't see anything. There are already countries in the world where these so-called fingerprints can be used as evidence. Lord Strongheart is currently discussing the matter at the Ministry of Justice.
Yes, I believe we are rapidly approaching an era of scientific methods of investigating.
But for now, we shall have to find an alternative method to proving our assertion. That this knife found at the victim's back was originally in Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house.
Ugh, if only I could transplant the whole incident to several years in the future. That's essentially the Terran testimony, was it?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I think we've heard all that is before, to be honest. I can't say I'm particularly confident we'll be able to prove anything from this new testimony.
But in this cross-examination, it's absolutely essential that we establish how the knife came to be at the scene of the incident.
Yes, I know.
I'm sure both of them must be feeling very worried. Worried about that it was in fact a knife belonging to one of them that caused the victim's injury.
If we could find even a tiny shred of evidence to support that theory, it would cinch this trial for us. It could explain everything.
Yes, it would.
So, for Sosuke-san's sake, we must. We must find that last crucial piece of evidence.
Alright, we're gonna just...
And then we're presenting the blade.
Objection!
Mr. Garrett, I'd like to... objection! There's a problem with your testimony. It is actually super simple to to prove it's one of yours. Gotta ask you to take a good look at this piece.
You're gonna ask, but I can't see a bally thing.
You can't?
You used to call me Dead-Eye Dead back in the regiment, of course. But that was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest.
Oh, he does, dearie May. It's rather wearing being asked about every other letter and every other word.
You must be very dizzy. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal. Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garrett's pipe.
My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of stabbing on Briar Road?
I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. Oh, she's on a box. Okay.
You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence paired with this fragment of metal allegedly reveals the truth of the entire case?
Take that!
This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you'll see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue with the inferior blade sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones.
And what is this particular knife?
No doubt the tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that is not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garrett's pipe.
Oh,
Good grief! For heaven's sakes!
I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match.
Good golly gosh!
Gosh.
Order! 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 Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery?
This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle.
A miracle?
So Vinzix has figured it out, has he?
Counsel, explain your extraordinary coincidence at once.
Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside of Mr. Gyarados' pipe?
Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did. Yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me.
During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Gyarados flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Gyarados, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course.
Good lord.
Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside of Mr. Gyarados' pipe.
The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1.
And yet, there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out to the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Gyarados' house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back in the street below.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. Oh no.
Objection!
I'll also see that his ass is burnt in the fire. A full body theory, I give you that. Huh? A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bolting his argument. Sorry? But after all, this is just a theory. A game of theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see, it's spotlit by an insurmountable inconsistency. An insurmountable? What?
Lord Vinzix, explain yourself. What is the inconsistency you claim to have identified?
An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with a knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, in her...
That's right. You silly little man.
Now, Joan, old thing, what are you getting so excited about?
Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that stuck her had fallen from above, there is no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back.
Yeah.
Order! Order!
Quite right, you say. That's exactly right. If the knife had fallen from on her from above, it would have struck her on top of the head.
Well,
He's lost for words, look. I knew it. I never liked this theory in the first place.
well, I don't know though. What really did happen?
It would appear the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder.
If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. So your theory that my guy is the one who did it just needs one thing and suddenly you can't do it anymore? Oh, well, I don't think that's how this justice system works. I think we need to go through an entire trial for you to prove this one inconsistency of mine. If we are so close, I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track, but now the way has been blocked completely. One simple inconsistency. Or in other words,
We simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency. The theory will stand.
Mrs. Sato,
You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. If we were caught off guard, that's all, and your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself.
Yeah, she was bent over picking up the book off the ground and it fell into her back. That's what we're going to be saying.
The key to this is in the courtroom record. I'm sure all the information you need is there.
It seems you have nothing to say, my Nymphonese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is totally flawed.
Objection!
This inconsistency doesn't mean I was wrong on the track. I was off the track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of the back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Counsel! There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain the inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer.
Goodness!
Utter madness.
Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence from which you speak. This is the last inconsistency, the final piece of the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back. So, are they looking? I assume they're looking for this picture, right? And not the book.
Take that!
This, the fourth book found at the scene, is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. Okay, so I picked the picture, but it said I picked the book. Okay, so that's good. The game knows that it could have been either of those and correctly narrowed down on the correct choice for me. The book.
Is that not Mr. Garridom's book?
Yes. And to understand the significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. The photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But, as we all now know, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that.
Quite so, as part of the wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But, what made you place that book in the victim's hand?
Well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first went over the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
In other words, the victim had already picked up the book of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
By Jingo! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh, dearie me.
I still think somebody hit her with their bicycle, which is why the bicycle has the big dent in it. And they already said it was too dark to see the bouquet, since there wasn't a street lamp on there. So I think she was bent over to pick up the book, and somebody ran into her on their bicycle, and the knife just so happened to fall into her. Because she's not dead, the knife was just in, and since it didn't have a tip, it barely pierced anything, I assume. She's probably still unconscious because she was hit, she literally collided with somebody on the fucking bicycle. They haven't brought that up yet, so that's why I said I don't know if this trial is going to continue, or if they're just going to end it here at this, and more is going to be revealed later. Because they already showed the guy covered in jewels, who looks like he's a lord of some kind, but he's living in the rundown garret apartment. So that's definitely something for later, probably. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garab house into the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her.
The book I threw?
Yes, Mrs. Garrett. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked up the book.
Yes, that's exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book.
Oh heavens!
And when that woman reached down to pick up the fallen book, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by, chance directly behind Mrs. Garrideb, was the defendant, Mr. Sosuke Natsume.
Well, I never.
It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor in the dark and fog. He didn't see the knife falling on her from above.
Oh,
Then, from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her